bottomless hole in Washington State, is it real? I don't think so.
There's a hole known as the Devil's Hole or Mel's Hole that became famous because Mel Waters called into Coast to Coast in 1997 claiming that he had a bottomless pit hole in his yard. Do you believe this?
No,
Whoa. Hold on. We got to get to the... All right, so Mel's Hole. This really did fascinate me because I've been going to, like I told you a million times, I've been listening to old Art Bell, Coast to Coast.
You love that.
Yeah, I do. Just because he had some good information, good shows. And this guy, Mel Waters, sent a fax in to Coast to Art Bell and said, hey, I got this story for you. There's a bottomless hole that I just been sending fishing line down. And it just keeps going and going and going. And he, had this 1 pound lure that he sent down, just never ended. And he said, this is pretty strange. Art Bell had him on a bunch of times from 97 to all the way till I think the last episode was in 2002.
Yeah.
He can't explain it. He doesn't know what's going on. There was all these like mysterious things that were, happening in this hole. And if you look at it, I don't know if you ever saw, there's this program called Outer Range.
No, I mean, I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
It talked about the same thing. Like there's this rancher that finds this hole on his property that is just like so mysterious. He doesn't even know what's going on. And again, like this was in Washington State, which
he never gave the exact location. There's a couple problems with this story already that I don't like and that I didn't like from the beginning. He found this hole, which I don't know how you don't find the hole when you move into the property, but whatever. He was like, we were throwing furniture and garbage and household items down this hole and it never seemed to fill up. Well, how much shit do you have that you're throwing down this hole that never filled up? Okay, so then I started putting fishing line down and it keeps going down and down and down and down.
Yeah, and he said it went down approximately 80,000 feet, which is 20 meters, 24,000 meters, in depth. One of the things too, and a lot of people did bring it up, and which was mysterious to me, is like if you're just sending line in, after a while they said the line would be so heavy that it's gonna either like snap or break. My thought when he was kind of telling these stories, like, all right, what if it did hit the bottom and he's just releasing line? It's gonna still seem like
it's gonna still keep going down,
right? Just because there's nothing there to like pull it or like for you to like kind of pull back.
Even the thing with the fishing line, like how many fishing lines are you tying together to make this go down there? Because usually they're in like 200, 400, 500 feet. Even 1,000 feet.
Yeah, but you could buy these big spools that have like the big ass line.
Even if it's 5,000 feet long, that you're buying this spool, and he says 80,000 feet.
Well, ultimately it was it comes to like 15 miles.
Yeah, exactly. You ain't sending 15 miles worth of fishing lure down.
Here's where it gets weird. Here's where the story turns a little bit for Mel's Hole. He had a buddy who his dog died.
Correct.
And this is straight out of like Pet Cemetery, where they put the dog in the hole and the dog came back to life. How do you explain that?
Here's my other question. How far in the hole did he go?
They don't know. They said anytime they threw down anything.
But how did the dog come back to life? They threw it in the hole because it died and it just popped out of there 80,000 feet, it just climbed out of there?
I don't know. Maybe it's a poor, like,
here's where you lose me.
Have you ever heard of the hollow earth theory?
Yes, I have.
Do you believe any?
No.
So you don't believe in the hollow earth theory. You don't believe in anything like
just like
whatever else.
Just like the flat earthers. No, I don't believe in that.
There's a lot of stuff that we can't explain. And if this guy does have like acres and acres of property and it's out in the middle of nowhere, you're not going to find a hole. Like it's not like a half acre like you do.
No,
and then you're
going
to find like every little hole. If you have this big ranch.
No, I get it too. But another thing that I was reading when you brought this up to me, a geologist said the hole would collapse in on itself because of the depth, the pressure, and the heat of that like deep of a hole. And I know in Russia, the borehole that they dug, like the deepest hole ever dug, ever, is small and has casing on it. So that's why that doesn't collapse. But it's tiny. It's like a PVC pipe. How big is this hole? No one's ever seen this hole.
He was saying it's a 9 foot in diameter.
Exactly.
Which is 2.7 meters, so that gives you a reference point.
But like no one's ever seen this and he's never given out the exact location of the hole. I want to see pictures of it.
Well, here's the thing. And this is where it gets strange because the government came in, these people people in suits with military grade weapons. And we always talk about, you know, these black programs. Yeah. It could be a Men in Black. It could be these secret programs that we don't know anything about.
Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones showed up.
Right. And then all of a sudden they quarantine the area. They told him he can't go in. They told him a plane crashed and he's not allowed in the area. He said, I mean, he called up Art Bell again and said, hey, you know, something's going on my property. I'm pretty shaken up about this. There's like military people with big machinery and guns and saying I can't go on my property because there's a plane crash.
Sure.
And people did corroborate this, you know, where they said they were trying to go on, like, I forget, it was like a terror server at the time that this happened. It wasn't like Google Maps where you could just go to Google Maps and like zoom in. But they said when they went on to these maps, it was like whited out. Like, so the area where supposedly this hole is, it was whited out by like this government or these officials that came to his property.
It does lead to some questions, yes.
Yeah, where it's like, all right, we're always talking about these government, you know, programs, these government agencies coming in and like taking over, and that's kind of what they did. Who knows? And they're not going to release the test to anything to the public.
They won't say anything.
Keep this on the hush hush. He did say there was a lot of like weird events that did happen, because he did say he lowered a bucket of ice into this hole, didn't melt, right? And then later on, moving his nephew, people came, kind of beat him up. He said 12 days later, he woke up in San Francisco, not knowing anything, not having any ID, not having anything on him. And then later on, his property was pretty much taken from him by his ex-wife. Came in and said, we got to get this guy. He's talking too much.
But see, then like that's when I would come out with the location of the property, go there, check it out yourself. And he never did that.
He never did that, because on some of the other episodes and what he was talking about, there's another hole, not in Washington, but in Nevada.
Yep, supposedly.
So he said, like, even on a couple of the interviews where he talks about they lowered a sheep into the hole.
Came out in Nevada.
Well, they said it came out, it was like messed up. There was stuff wrong with it. And it said that it had a tumor. One of the guys like pretty much filleted and dissected it. And out of this tumor, the only way he could describe it, it was a seal. It had a human face to it.
Yeah.
But like a seal kind of body, and it had these big eyes.
The only thing...
Could it have been an alien?
The only thing I can equate it to is the mist. You know, when like the spider like goes inside of them and it just like comes out. Like that's what I thought about when like I read that.
Yeah, like my first thing was like, all right, maybe it is aliens. You know, we always talk about aliens coming out of the ocean. Maybe they have this, and this is like an entranceway and technology that we don't understand.
Sure.
That they're coming out from the earth or the ocean. You know, because he does talk about other animals like dogs, cows. Anything that got close to this hole would like freak out or not even go near it.
Yeah, which I get. Maybe there's some type of energy that came out of the hole, but...
And I know it's like laughable to say like, dude, I found a seal, you know, like in this tumor on this, you know, sheep. But
there was cameras back then, take pictures.
They did ask him like, why didn't you take pictures? And he goes, you know, like he didn't really give like the greatest answer.
Exactly.
And for somebody to find like 2 bottomless holes, like he didn't find the second one.
No, but
like people that he knew found this one.
Exactly.
And kind of in the area. Who's to say that it wasn't like a military or government project to begin with?
Yeah, to say like, you know, we're going to dig these holes.
Because if you look at the area where it's in Washington, like there is military bases around there. Not only military bases, but Area 51's kind of close to this Nevada one.
Sure.
So could there have been something going on where they had alien technology and aliens still there? He kind of keeps saying it over and over again. The only way I could describe this is as a seal, but the more he kept like describing it, the more I said, this could have been a baby alien, like a baby gray.
But then like what happened to it?
It went back in the hole, he said.
I don't know.
But he also says too, when he was handling this baby seal or whatever it was, and it was looking at them like the group, and that's another question. They're like, well, why didn't you film this thing? And again, they didn't take pictures. They were kind of scared at the moment, but he did say he had cancer. He was like diagnosed with cancer, and he said he had the records to prove it. But after handling and being in the vicinity of this creature, he was cured.
Yeah. See, again, where is he now? Why can't anyone find this hole again?
I mean, he was old at the time.
No, I get it.
This happened, so I'm sure he's probably like 80s, 90s, if he's still alive.
Then
I don't know
where the fucking hole is.
Again, there were strange lights coming out of this. Could it have been an alien craft? We don't know. Government seized this land. There's a lot of other weird things that has happened to this area. It does make you think though, and this was a big story back in the day. A lot of people
it does make
don't
you
know
think.
about it.
No, not a lot of people know about it, but it does make you think, like, is there a portal to other dimensions? Is there something either aliens or the government was working on that's secret?
And like you said, you told me you found all these articles and all these people like kind of debunking this
Correct,
story.
yep.
Who's to say, like,
But like, where's the evidence?
On our previous episodes.
It goes back to what you always say too. Like, all these people have this Bigfoot experiences. They go out and see Bigfoot every single time. Well, this guy and his friends found a hole in Washington, found a hole in Nevada.
I mean, they could have. You don't know. I mean, yes, I'm always skeptical, but for some reason, I believe this story.
A thumbs up.
I don't know. I really do believe this story. For some reason, it just like hooked me in, and just listening to it.
It is cool to think about.
If this was like a coast to coast like ploy, we're gonna make up this story, and we're just gonna have like one of our random friends call, which is possible.
Like, even an investigative reporter went out to Washington, couldn't find any records of Mel owning property in the county that he said he was in.
But he never actually owned the property. It was always in, I think, his wife's name or his wife's family name. So you're not going to find any record of that. Yes, I'm one of the biggest skeptics out there, even though I love and believe this stuff.
Debunked.
I don't know, dude. There's something about this story. If you had to give a thumbs up, thumbs down, what are you feeling?
I'm feeling thumbs down. I don't believe it. I don't think it's real. I think this guy made it up.
This Mel Waters doesn't even exist.
Mel Waters, no, he probably exists. That's not his name. And I think that he made up the story just to get on Coast to Coast, because there's no pictures, no evidence, no nothing.
I know, and I'm always asking for that evidence. I'm always asking for those pictures. Really am, but I don't know. There's something to it, man. There's something that's saying, dude, don't give this a thumbs down. I'm gonna have to give this a thumbs up. I believe this. And yes, I may have been duped. I may have been, suckered into this story, but there's something about it, man. When we're talking about creatures, weird lights. Not only that, like
dig a hole in the backyard.
Ice comes up and then it's like fire. Like, there's so many little things about this story that is so mysterious, and it has me hooked, man. I don't know. It just has me hooked. I don't know. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Check out our Patreon for a postcard club.
PCC.
That's right. And visit our shop, shopnightmare365.com, where you can find this Halloweeniacs t-shirt and anything else before we get out of here and visit Mel's hole.
Until next time.
Stay spooky.
Dig deeper.
So there's a hole, Mel's hole, that became famous in 1997 when a caller... A
caller called into Coast to Coast.
Here.
His name is Mel.
All right.
It's Mel's hole.
All right, hold on. Zip it.
What is in the bottom of the hole?